Kia ora, good evening. The Public Service Association, or PSA, has withdrawn notices of industrial action covering 1,200 health workers at DHBs across New Zealand following progress in mediation. PSA National Secretary Richard Wagstaff says his organisation is pleased that, through the mediation process, we have managed to negotiate an improved offer from the DHBs. He says the new offer will mean more money in the pocket of hard-working members and real progress on some of the other key issues. Our members, says Mr Wagstaff, take patient care seriously, so the DHB agreement to increase engagement on learning and development is particularly welcome to improve the standard of care. The new DHB offers will now go out for discussion and voting at members' meetings across the country with a PSA recommendation to sign. Southland has retained its 3-star ranking for the June quarter in the latest edition of the main report by ASB.
The region is described as fair to middling as far as economic activity is concerned. Southland led the building consents rankings this June year, with commercial construction leading the way. This additional activity put down to a very good previous dairy season. Southland had a 2.4% share of the national economy. There was a slight drop in population of 0.1% over the June year. There were 52,000 full-time equivalent jobs, down 2% over the same period. Retail trade was up 5% at 235 million. House prices were up over the region by 2.7%, with the regional house price averaging out at $195,000. There was $58,000 worth of construction, up 56% on the June year 2012 to 13. And new car sales were healthy over the June year, with 681 new vehicles registered, up 25%. The New Zealand Regional Scoreboard takes the latest quarterly regional statistics and ranks the performance of 16 regional council areas around the country. Southland is currently ranked 10th, with Auckland and Canterbury returning the best results. Hunter Andrews, South Today News.
Southport New Zealand shareholders can expect a 22-cent dividend per share after the port company posted a record year profit of $6.68 million. The profit's been driven by stronger bulk cargo activity, which reached a record 2.72 million tonnes over the last financial year.
The cargoes that were showing considerable strength included logs flowing mainly through to China and a large increase in the stock food supplementary feed input material for the dairy sector. There were two that sort of stood out, but really across the whole business, a lot of the other cargoes held up very well also.
20 years registered on the New Zealand stock market, that's 2 decades, that's quite an anniversary.
Yes, look, we were pleased. Some representatives from NZX came down and called at the port and presented us a small gift to recognise that 20-year period. So it certainly goes by quite rapidly, but worthy of recognition. If
you looked at the patterns over those years, where does the port sit now comparatively, do you think, over that 20 years?
Probably over that 20 years, we've grown our cargo base quite dramatically. If I wind the clock back there, the cargo volumes would have been well below 2 million tonnes. This year we've just delivered a record volume of 2.7 million tonnes, and it also demonstrates probably diversification of our types of cargoes that the port is servicing. And the dairy sector growth in Southland's got a large part to do with that also.
You mentioned in the report or the briefing is that frozen storage is not as healthy as it has been.
No, there's a change in activity pattern with the cold storage product. Previously it used to remain in store for a longer period of time. Now there's a greater proportion of that product destined for China, and there's two clear changes that are occurring. There's different quality standards that are being demanded by MPI, the government agency that approves the standard of the goods moving out of the country, and also the fact that it is actually moving quite rapidly and doesn't stay around for any extended length of time. So less storage revenue for us as a cold storage operator, but more favourable conditions for our customers who are exporting those products.
Okay, let's look forward. What are you seeing in the coming couple of years, or years, calendar years certainly?
Well, look, the next 12 months, from what we can see on the horizon, there's going to be a tightening in a range of different sectors. The logs have slowed up more recently, and the flow of New Zealand logs into China has certainly pulled back. We also clearly observe that the international dairy prices have fallen away noticeably. And whilst that doesn't mean that the production volumes of dairy product moving out of the country will be lower, it does mean that some of the farm inputs and some of the expenditure by dairy farmers may choke off. And examples of that are supplementary stock food, fertiliser, even fuel that's part of the dairy sector. So they're all important cargoes for Southport now, and we do think that they'll be lower in the coming 12-month period.
ACC is increasing its annual contribution to St John's Ambulance Services by $9.2 million to $63.1 million. St John's says it will now recruit 158 more frontline staff, ambulance staff in 35 key locations by July next year. 82 staff will come from $5.5 million of the increased ACC funding, and the remainder will come from more Ministry of Health funding and St John's own fundraising. An ACC spokesperson says the patient-focused move will improve service response times, reduce single crewing levels and improve patient and staff safety. The southern DHB area is to receive 6 additional frontline staff, 2 in Alexandra and 4 in Dunedin and Mosgiel. There will be no additional staff allocation for Invercargill. Stay with us. After the break, a grand old piece of architecture gets a new lease of life. Plus, the competition heats up amongst scientific minds. Welcome back. One of Invercargill's most iconic buildings is undergoing a sympathetic makeover thanks to a family who purchased it in 2011. The Grand Hotel was once fit for a queen, and now the building that's over a century old is being turned into a boutique-style establishment with quirks.
We wanted to come in here with a new set of eyes, a new set of love for it, and start to pull it all back to what it was and, give it some life.
Do you think there were expectations that people might see it go due to the earthquake-proofing regulations?
Well, possibly, but we're above those standards currently. We're putting money into some other aspects of the building to ensure that they are well and truly above all those required levels. Like anything, it's a staged process with a lot of these old buildings here. We're lucky that the Grand itself is actually reinforced concrete, as opposed to a lot of them which are around town here, which are all brick.
You're not going for the perfect new look, though. You're looking for a blending of the old and the new.
Absolutely. I think if you have a historic building such as this, and you're going to completely fit it out modern, it's like any other old building or hotel that's been renovated to a modern, plain standard, and that minimalistic look's kind of dated really now. A lot of people are, they want to see the old vintage furniture, and they want to see texture and colour without necessarily being modern patterns or modern colours within a place. So we are blending it, but being sympathetic to its history.
As far as the furniture and features with the crockery and things go, tell us about that.
Well, again, it's a sourcing game. It's what comes available at the time to purchase. It's what we need for specific rooms. We're not going for a uniformed, white plate, stamped throughout the whole place. We want individual personality within each room.
What's your timing or your time frame for getting this to a completed stage?
Room by room. We come across every, different things with each room. Some need more, some need less. It just depends on what's required and how long they take. Some of them have taken weeks to turn around. Others have taken, a week.
It's been a record July for visitor arrivals to New Zealand, beating last July's high by over 13,000 visitors. More Indonesian, Chinese and Australian visitors boosted July to a new record of almost 197,000. For the year to July, 2.8 million holidaymakers visited New Zealand, a 6% increase from the July 2013 year. Meanwhile, 2.23 million trips were taken overseas by Kiwis, up 3% on the previous 12 months. And there's been an increase in the number of net migrants, with a seasonally adjusted gain of 4,500 migrants last month. For the July 2014 year, migrant arrivals numbered 102,400. That's up 15% from 2013. The annual Southland Science and Technology Fair is underway, with some impressive entries on show at the Ascot Park Hotel, according to judges. Southland students have been putting their scientific minds to work over recent months in a bid to be selected for the New Zealand Aluminium Smelters Southland Science and Technology Fair. This year, 218 exhibits have made it to the final selection, created by 350 Southland kids from years 5 to 13, and judges say it's their best work yet.
Oh, I think this year it's definitely a step above other years. I've actually been really impressed with the variety of exhibits and just the passion from the students.
Around 40 judges have been privy to presentations from students covering a variety of topics before scrutinising entries.
I'm looking for robust scientific methodology, something different, some originality, and some passion in the presentation from the students. I'm looking for something that's well laid out, that's got good tidiness, that have taken some attention to detail with the spelling and the grammar. They've also used a variety of methods of presenting their data.
More schools have taken part this year than ever before, and age makes no difference when it comes to picking a winner.
We definitely do have age group ones, but certainly they can qualify for the best and fair as well.
This year, judges have been impressed with topics that tackle real issues like healthy energy foods.
They've actually looked at ways on how to actually improve it if they look at doing it again, and that included looking at the packaging. Next time they were looking at possibly putting in biodegradable packaging, just things like that. I think it's great because they're just totally looking outside the square and actually addressing an issue that students do have.
Addressing a known health and safety issue, the Smart Switch, entered in the technology section, proposes a covered powered takeoff on a tractor.
It's got a very thorough design brief, and the presentation's exceptional. The diagrams and the logbooks are top class, so we are really impressed with this one. The proposal covers the spinning power takeoff. It has a couple of cut-off switches, so you can move it one way or the other when you bump against it, and it will cut the power to the PTO, and it will also prevent you getting entangled in the equipment.
There's national and potentially international recognition plus financial reward at stake. Around 100 prizes will be announced tomorrow night, with just one winning the main prize package. Margot Sutherland, South Today News. And that science fair is open to the public all day tomorrow. That is all from us tonight from the news team. Good evening.